Howdy everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Grocery Store Growing, right here on The More You Grow. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite fruits, but probably one of the weirdest fruits I've ever seen. We're going to be talking about dragon fruit. I'll tell you a little bit about the different kinds of dragon fruit you can get. We're going to do a taste test of each one to let you know how they differ as far as taste and texture and color, things like that. And then I'm going to show you how you can grow your very own dragon fruit from seed. So let's go check it out. So dragon fruit. I was in 7th grade the first time I ever saw dragon fruit. I was on a vacation to the Florida Keys with my grandmother. And when I first saw these things, I was thinking to myself, what kind of freaky platypus eggs are these? Or what planet did they come from? Because they can't be from Earth looking like this. And of course I had to buy one. I tried it and I fell in love with it. They have very soft, juicy, refreshing flesh that has a very mild flavor, but very good. And I come to find out later on that they actually grow on a vining cactus. It's a cactus that grows up trees. It'll climb up whatever it can. It has these aerial roots that grip into the bark of the tree and things like that. Then they produce these giant white flowers at night that turn into these delicious fruit. So I also found out later on that there's multiple kinds of dragon fruit. The most common and the most likely one you're going to find in your grocery store is the white flesh variety. It's going to have this pink skin on the outside. It'll have these fleshy appendages that make it look so cool. And on the inside it has a soft, mild white flesh. It's actually a little bit on the bland side to me, so don't be too disappointed if it's not the craziest tasting fruit you've ever had. But it is very good in its own way. Another kind of dragon fruit you may be able to find is the red flesh variety. It also has a pink skin on the outside of it like this and has appendages on it as well. They're probably not as long as this one. And to me, it has a sweeter taste to it. It just tasted a little bit better than the white flesh variety do. But the one I'm most excited about is the yellow dragon fruit. These are supposed to be some of the harder ones to find. They're very hard to find in the mainland US. They're probably easier to find in Hawaii, maybe California, Florida. But as far as other places, they're not that common. You're more likely to see the white flesh variety. These are actually supposed to be the best tasting dragon fruit you can get though. They're supposed to be sweeter, have a little bit of tanginess to them, but I actually don't know. This is the first yellow dragon fruit I've ever had, and you get to be here with me when I get to try it out, so that's really cool. So that leads me into my next point. Enough talk about these dragon fruit. Let's actually taste some of them. I'm going to show you how to cut into a dragon fruit very easily and to not waste any of the flesh. It's very easy to do. I'm going to taste each of them and give you a taste test and tell you the differences as far as the different varieties go. And then we're going to take the seeds from them and I'm going to show you how you can start your very own dragon fruit from seed. So let's get into it. I'm going to start out with the pink skin variety, but the first thing you want to do is you want to come up here and cut off the ends like so. You're just going to cut these ends off here. On the inside we have this white flesh here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to cut off the end here as well, like so. Alright, so once you have both ends cut off your dragon fruit, we're going to peel a strip back. I'll cut into it a little bit and show you. We're just going to cut a strip like this into the flesh, or into the skin I should say. We're going to cut into it like that, peel it back, get it started here, and now we can just take our fingers here and we can grab the skin and just slide it off like this. It just comes right off, it doesn't stick very much, and you have a fully peeled dragon fruit. Let's go with the taste test now, and I'll give y'all a play-by-play here. So, moment of truth here. This is actually sweeter than most white flesh dragon fruits I've had. It's still mild, not a whole lot of flavor. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. The crunch of the seeds is nice. I like those little crunchy seeds. But like I said, it's not just a crazy tasting fruit, but it is very good in its own way. It's very refreshing. Alright, so moment of truth. I'm so excited to see how this yellow dragon fruit compares to the white flesh dragon fruit. It should be a big difference from what I'm told. So we're going to do the same thing we did to the last dragon fruit. We're going to cut off the end here. We're going to peel a strip, just like I did on the other one. They're very similar in that way. You peel them the same. So now we're just going to do like we did with the last one, take our fingers and peel this skin off, just like this. And now we got that skin off there. Drum roll moment here, you guys. We're going to try this out, and hopefully it's as good as everyone tells me it is. The seeds are a little bit larger in the yellow skin variety, but we'll see here, right? It's a lot sweeter, a lot sweeter. Wow, that is much better than the white flesh variety, and even the red one that I had. This is the best dragon fruit I've ever had. It's got, I would say it doesn't have a lot of complex flavor. It's very sweet, but it doesn't have a lot of other kind of flavors going on with it. It's kind of like a, it's just kind of like sweet juice. I don't know how to explain it. It's very good though. I would highly recommend, if you ever find a yellow skin variety of dragon fruit, to try it out for yourself. But now for the main attraction here, we're going to show you how to start your own dragon fruit plants from seed. So the first step to getting dragon fruit plants is to get the seeds. And these tiny little seeds, I guarantee you, they're not easy to pick out one by one. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to show you the way I found most easiest. You just go around here, you cut off a very thin slice of your dragon fruit. Thin slices if you can. It's going to make this easier. Try to get it to where you can see a little bit here. Just get thin slices here and slice those off onto a plate of some kind, and just make a few like that. So now we have our thin slices. What we need to do now is to separate these seeds from the flesh, and we're not going to do this individually. We don't have that kind of time. But the easiest way I found to do this without crushing the seeds, these seeds kind of have a little crunch to them, but they're still very thin. So we're just going to come around here, use our fingers, and just mash this. The reason why I use my fingers is I can tell how much pressure I'm putting down with my fingers, but if I were to use a spoon or something like that, I could crush the seeds because it's really hard to tell what kind of pressure you have. And plus, this is just fun. You get to play with your food. How many times do you get to do that and nobody judge you for it? Okay, so I've got them mashed up about as much as I can. The next thing we're going to need is a paper towel. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lay this paper towel over our fruit and kind of press it lightly against the mashed fruit. And what this is going to do is, hopefully, when we lift this up, we've got all these seeds attached with not as much of the fruit, at least. There's a little bit on there still, but we have mostly seeds on here. So now that I've got these seeds on this paper towel, I'm going to try to pick off some of the bigger pieces of fruit, or at least mash it down a little bit further, spread it out a little bit so it'll dry quicker. We only want to let this dry down maybe for a couple of hours. You don't need to let it dry down any more than that. You could potentially if you needed to, but we're just going to get this to where these seeds aren't as sticky when we try to go plant them, which will be the next step after that. So one thing I've come to find out about the yellow dragon fruit that was different than the pink skin dragon fruit, as you've probably noticed, the seeds are a lot bigger in this dragon fruit. And since these are bigger, I can actually treat these a little bit different than I did the seeds in the other dragon fruit. I don't need to use a paper towel with these, because I found out these also have a little bit of gel around the outsides of the seed, and that makes it really hard to get them removed from the paper towel. They stick, they dry to it, it's really hard to remove them. The best way I found to collect seeds from the yellow dragon fruit is to actually just eat the fruit and gently work the seeds around and just kind of spit the seeds out onto a paper plate. I'm not going to do that on camera, don't worry, I will spare you all of that. But I found out that's easiest, and putting them on a paper plate will make it to where they don't stick to like paper, like on a paper towel, and they're hard to remove. So I'm going to eat this fruit. I'm going to put the seeds on a paper towel to dry down for a few hours. I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. I have two different kinds of soils I'm going to try out here. This one is a potting mix, a very fine potting mix that doesn't have a lot of big chunks of bark or anything like that in it. And so perlite, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, half perlite, half potting mix. And I have another that's just straight potting mix. It's a very fine potting mix, no pieces of bark, things like that. So I'm going to try that out and see which one works better and just see how it does. One thing I forgot to mention is that you're going to want to get your potting mix nice and moist before you plant your seeds. The reason why we want to do this before we plant our seeds is because these are very small seeds. They could potentially be washed away or washed up against the side of the container and clumped together. And we want to make sure to keep these seeds nice and spaced out if we can. So by getting it moist before, it's going to provide all the moisture these seeds need to germinate. So I have our seeds here, some of the yellow dragon fruit seeds. I did the same thing to our white flesh dragon fruit. I just take the seeds off the paper towel. And what we're going to do is we're going to plant these the exact same way, but I'm going to show you with the yellow dragon fruit seeds. We're going to take our pot with our potting mix and perlite mix. We're just going to sprinkle these seeds right on top. We're not going to bury them. We're not going to put them under the soil. We're just going to put them right on top, just like this. And once we get plenty of seeds put in here and spaced as even as we can, we're going to just kind of press them down on top of the soil where they got good soil contact. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to put some plastic wrap over the tops of our pots and secure it with a rubber band. This is going to allow a good humid, moist environment for our seeds to grow in. That way they don't dry out and they got a good growing environment. And once we let them grow for a little while, you're going to start to see something that looks like this. These are little dragon fruit plants that I started a little bit ago, and they've grown a little bit here. These are the only leaves they're ever going to have, because after this, these are going to be cactus. They are going to be a vining cactus that we're going to need to provide some support for eventually, a few things like that. But when that comes along, I'll talk about it a little bit more then. But as for now, we're just going to let these grow. You can let multiple grow together, and when they get big enough, you will be splitting these apart and planting them in their own containers. But I think that's going to be all for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any more questions for me on anything I did in this video, or if you have suggestions for future videos, leave them down in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can be there for when all these new videos come out. And until next time, I hope you'll join me right here on The More You Grow.